Hello everybody, thanks very much for your company as we get set for the second free practice session of the day here at the Nürburgring. We've got a slightly shorter session as is normal for free practice 2. So rather than the 55 minutes we had this morning, this one will be 45 minutes longer. Last chance for the drivers and teams to get set for tomorrow morning's qualifying session, which will set the grid for the first race of the weekend. It's become quite a hot day now. The sun broke through at around about lunchtime. It's been a nice gentle breeze here, but it's much hotter than it feels. And 26 degrees almost the air temperature has now risen to, and the track temperature is pretty similar as well at just under 26 degrees. So these pretty similar conditions to what we had in the afternoon here 12 months ago, where we saw an improvement in lap times over free practice 1. Perhaps we'll see that again today. And lots of people here this weekend. Brian and I have had the chance to be walking around the paddock and down the pit lane and catching up with drivers and teams. And for a Friday, given there's no racing or qualifying today, it's been pretty busy. Even the grandstands looking fairly busy as I went and had a look from the infield and looked at the race platform, the spectator platform that you get. And that's because it's a lovely day and a lovely setting here. There's the Nürburgring Castle in the background, the town of Nürburgring, pretty small town, less than a couple of hundred inhabitants, but it's veins filled with the blood of motorsport around here. All the restaurants, cafes, lots of motorsport memorabilia everywhere. Bit of a facelift happening at the moment to that castle, which dates back to the 12th century, the Nürburgring Castle, and a couple of years ago managed to climb to the top of that, and you get a spectacular view. It's absolutely brilliant up there on the top of the hill. You can see the whole of the circuit and all the surrounding area here. In Germany, in the Eifel region of Germany. There you can see the championship standings. There is the championship leader. Just 8 points between the top 5 in the championship after the first 4 weekends of the season. Lucas Auer, though, still smiling. He's always smiling. I managed to grab a chat with him during the break between the 2 practice sessions, as is always the case. It's the very first time I saw him this season. He's busy doing media work, lots of filming and poses for cameras and some interviews that he's been doing as well. I said, that's the trouble with being the championship leader, Lugie. Everybody wants a piece of you. And he smiled and laughed. He said, I don't mind. I said, I'm looking forward to the second half of the season. Always a big positive energy around the Austrian, and it's another Austrian that is closest to him in the championship. Aboard this Manthey EMA Porsche, the 2023 champion, Thomas Preining, with a great weekend, a win and a second. There's that viewing platform I mentioned. Had a wonder up there. It's a great view there. It's on the infield, just at the back of the fan area here, which is brilliant. Superb, the amount of things to do for the young fans and the families here in the DTM. There's scale electrics track down there. You've got reaction test wall, loads of merchandise and food stands and drink stands. There's bouncy castles, ball pits, anything you can imagine. The kids are going to love it here this weekend. The fan access, brilliant as well. Lots of the drivers signing autographs and having photos taken with the fans, and always obliging in doing that as well, which is great to see. So the second free practice session underway in just over a minute's time. Fastest in this morning's free practice session was the Ferrari of Jack Aitken for Emil Frey Racing, a 1 minute 26.555. He was just over a tenth quicker than Ben Durr, who has switched to McLarens with Timo Glock for this weekend. Timo's been struggling with last year's car, so he's gone into the car that Ben has been driving all year, which is the new car, while he waits for an even newer, a brand new McLaren to be delivered. Spoke to Ben Durr, and he confirmed it's going to be in time, not for the Saxon Ring, but for the Red Bull Ring in September. But until then, Timo's gone into the new car to see if that's any better for him, and Ben has gone into last year's car, and it didn't seem to slow him down at all. He was second quickest, an excellent effort, 1 minute 26.693 seconds. As we look at Fabio Sciarra had a pretty good run, as did Arjun Maini in that first free practice session this morning. Jules Gounon was third quickest with a 126.7, so less than a tenth and a half between the top 3. Thierry Vermeulen in the Ferrari was 4th, Maro Engel was 5th in the Mercedes, and Luca Engstler was 6th in his Lamborghini, but just under a second covered the top 22, and 1.2 seconds covered the whole field in that practice session this morning. So we'll be underway in a minute. Here in the commentary box, we are overlooking the start-finish straight and get a pretty good view of the pit lane as well. We can see all the cars as we look left out of the commentary box window, nosed out of the garages, and now the lights go out, the session gets underway. The cars head out onto this 3.6 kilometre long circuit. And we'll talk you through the action for free practice 2. I'm Chris Hartley, and as ever alongside me is Brian Oliver.
Good afternoon, Chris. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Nürburgring. Look at that lovely blue sky. We haven't had the fog or the snow or the wind or the rain yet. We're still got 2 more days to go yet. But what a glorious festival of motorsport. Arguably the capital of German motorsport here at the Nürburgring. And what a weekend this is shaping up to be. DTM, ADAC GT4 Germany, Prototype Cup, Next Gen, and of course Porsche 6 Carrera Cup Germany. And DTM always draws a big crowd. If you've got a bit of time this weekend and you're in the area, get yourself down here. You will be entertained, I will guarantee it. The last free practice session is just starting now, and then after this, all that will be left will be 2 qualifying sessions and 2 races. So this is the opportunity for the team to do that final bit of tyre scrubbing, the final bit of setting up. As we're looking back at Maurice Schöring this morning, he was doing long running. He mentioned to me in the break that they've got some fresh rubber they're going to be putting on that car towards the end of this session. They're going to see what they can do. Manthey EMA have got over 500 guests here. Of course, this is their local track. They've got over 500 guests here watching, so no pressure to Thomas Preining, Ayçekun, or indeed Maurice Schöring. But a real festival atmosphere, as is always the case here at the Nürburgring, as we get this FP2 underway.
Yeah, and I spoke to Arjun Maini, he was one of the drivers I caught up with as well, and he said we didn't use any of the new tyres. So in free practice, you get 2 sets of carryover tyres, as in tyres that you used at a previous event, and 1 set of brand new Pirelli tyres. That's what you get for a Friday. So you can choose to use the absolutely new set of tyres in either of the 2 sessions or both of them. But obviously they're only really fresh for 1 of the sessions. Then you have to give them back at the end of the day. And then for Saturday and Sunday at this track, you get 3 sets of new slick tyres to run for the 2 qualifying sessions and 2 races. Arjun said we didn't use our new tyres. I reckon though, he said some did, looking at the times. He said with a smile on his face, I think we're in a good place. It could be a good circuit for us. We're not entirely sure yet with the Mustang, because it's a little bit of, it's not one thing or the other, this circuit. It's got some tight sections. It's got that first complex through the AMG Arena and the hairpin that you're about to see, but it's got some very quick sections at the back as well. So he said, not sure, but we think we're in quite a good place. He said, but you just don't know until you get to qualifying what anybody else is doing with fuel loads and what they're doing with tyres. He said, from our point of view, we've still got a new set of tyres that will run on my car in free practice too, and it sounds like that's the case for Maurice Schöring as well. So a 1 minute 26.5 was the fastest lap time in the first free practice session. Similar conditions, slightly cooler track conditions than we had 12 months ago for free practice 1, where Ajin Guan in 2024 was quickest in the first session, but about 1/10 of a second quicker than this time last year. But this equivalent session 12 months ago, Maro Engel was quickest, and the track temperature was really hot. It was 29 degrees. It's getting that way now at 26 degrees. It's not quite as hot. But the air temperature is a bit hotter than it was last year, so not dissimilar.
There's Engstler behind. He's on the first push. Afterwards, it's clear.
It was Wittmann next to me, and I don't see Engstler at all.
Okay, copy.
Right, best friends made with Jules-Gordon and Marco Wittmann. Yeah, Maro Engel, 1:26.0 in this equivalent session last year, so it was a good 7/10 quicker than the first free practice session, so expect quicker times in this one. The lap record in terms of qualifying, when we get to it tomorrow, 1:25.1 from 2 years ago, set by Mirko Bortolotti, the 2024 champion. That's a great onboard, isn't it? That gives you a real sense of speed, Brian.
Yeah, great stretch here down towards turn 1 here at the Nürburgring. It's about 250 to 300 metres from the start-finish line into turn 1. So good stretch there when the race gets underway tomorrow as well. The great overtaking opportunity, because that corner, that turn 1, is always very, very tricky. It's down into first gear. It's a sharp right. It's also a bit of a bump. It's also downhill. There's also a surface change as they come out of turn 1 in towards turn 2. As Ayçekun thinks trying to warm the tyres up a bit in the pit lane. The plumes of blue smoke rising up over the Nürburgring. He's lit the tyres up well and truly. As we look here now, this is Ricardo Feller getting a little bit wild, exploring the limits of turn 10 in the Audi, the one Audi in the race, and he comes out, survives that. That's what FP is all about. It's all about exploring the limits, because you want to do it now and not tomorrow when you're qualifying or racing.
No, those white lines that you can see, they show the edge of the track, go on the white lines, but no over the white lines. Unless there's a curb there, then you can go over the white lines and onto the curb with two wheels. But you can't go beyond the curb with two wheels. Otherwise, track limits, and in qualifying, you'll lose the lap time in the race. You'll get a couple of warnings, and then you'll start getting penalty times added on. On board with Fabio Sciarra then on this V8 Mustang, which sounds fantastic as he makes his way through the first sector. And great shots here from just off the track on the barrier cameras to show how the Mustang rips and roars into life as he goes up through the accelerator. The top speed around here will be around about 250 kilometres an hour down the start-finish straight into turn 1, but it's heavy on the brakes into that first corner. That's when they really stand on it and drop down to first gear and all the way down to just 70 kilometres an hour. So Fella and one or two others pushing on. We saw lots of drivers putting two wheels through the gravel and getting on the grass in the first free practice session as well. And the feedback that I've had from a couple of drivers, including Arjun Maini, including Ben Durr, was that it was slippy out there. It was a bit tricky in that first free practice session.
Yeah, Timo Glock was certainly complaining of that. He felt as though there might have been some oil on the track. I think it might have been Ricardo Fella that created that secondary plume of smoke and dust that you saw in your picture just now. So he's clearly pushing. Well, that is proved by the fact that he's currently quickest, albeit with a 127.7. But he had gone purple in Sector 1. Now Lucas Auer is purple in Sector 1, which means he's the quickest of anybody. As we ride on board with Jules Kuhn on curbs. What curbs? I'm going over them, he says in the Yellow Man. But a little bit of air, but it's the quickest way around there. As long as he doesn't exceed track limits, then, well, why not? That's what I say. Extracting as much as he can out of the final corner. Then it's full beans down the pit straight in towards turn 1.
Yeah, we just came back to where we saw the Porsche of Arjen Guwen lighting up the tyres coming out of the pit lane. You might think, what's he doing? Was he being a hooligan and lighting up the tyres like that? There is a reasoning behind it, and that is to lay a load of rubber down on your pit box exit, because sticky hot rubber in hot conditions, which is what we're going to get tomorrow, that is nice and grippy, and the grippier it is, the quicker you're able to pull away from your pit box, whilst of course always sticking to within the pit lane speed limits. There's a reason they do that. You've just seen it on board with Lucas Auer, who is now quickest in the session with a 127.5. We will get quicker than this. Nicola Bart in the Aston Martin, in fact both the Aston Martins in your shot, with the BMW of Marco Wittmann, the two-time champion, in between them. Then point scorers in the championship after a big step forward at the Nürburgring. But the Audi of Ricardo Fella, having said it's the absolute best first sector time, has pulled off the circuit with an issue. That is going into the pit lane entry, so just coming out of the penultimate corner. A problem with the car. It's pretty rare, isn't it, that you see a DTM car these days with any kind of technical issue which makes them stop.
Yeah, and that's going to bring a swift caution to this session, whether it goes yellow or indeed red, but they're going to need to move that. Having said that, no, that is not him moving, that was a Lamborghini. I'm wondering, if they can't move that, then they will need, yes, full course yellow coming out. So the cars will now have to reduce their speed to 80 kilometres an hour while they retrieve that car. So that's good, we can keep this session going. And yeah, that's such a shame, because he was looking quick. We saw him pushing hard, and he's on team radio.
Engine went off. I don't know. Very weird. Car was just not taking throttle anymore, suddenly exiting turn 7.
Okay, any strange noise for anywhere?
Maybe. We'll never get the answer. But engine went off was the three words there, the key words. So it switched off. It's got fired up again, and it stopped again. Yeah, so probably some electrical issue, I would say. Though it tries to fire it up again, it lurches into life, then stops. So Ricardo's doing his best to get back to the pits, but it ain't happening at the moment for the Land Motorsport Audi, which is why we've got this period of full course yellow. In the meantime, Jack Aitken had gone quickest with a 127.4, but again, we're not absolutely flying yet ahead of Lucas Auer. And Tom Callender was on the podium here last year, on his way to becoming the youngest ever ADAC GT Masters champion.
Ricardo's shouting, I'm just going to say this while I can, he's shouting at the car, come on Eileen, I thank you, my work here is done.
Explain.
That car is
Explain
called
yourself.
Eileen, and it's the car that won the GT Masters. Well, he won the GT Masters Championship with back in 2021. They pulled it out of the museum, dusted it off, put some new panels and the new Evo kit on it. That's what he's racing this year. The car's nicknamed Eileen after the song "Come On Eileen." He's kind of wishing he'd gone for a different name now, isn't he? But looks like he's going to get it back to the pits. Well, hopefully he will. And yes, enough of that nonsense.
It was just it was teed up for you. That you
It was.
couldn't resist.
I was itching. I just I had to do it.
Right, so again, made some progress there in the pit lane, but it might have stopped again. So the clock continues to tick. It won't in a qualifying session, but it will in a free practice session. So full course yellow or not, time is still being lost. We have gone green again now, but that wasn't enough to stop some of the cars abandoning that run, including Rennie Rasta, you saw there, the three-time champion coming into the garage. At this circuit, he is one of only 2 drivers that has won 3 races around here. It's been a circuit that has shared the love over its time, really. We've had 42 DTM races around the Nürburgring, and we've had 24 different race winners. So not many win it more than once, and certainly not many win it more than 2 times. And Rennie Rasta is one of only 2 drivers that has ever achieved that. Under investigation for speeding in the pit lane is Timo Glock. Well, not speeding in the pit lane, sorry, speeding under full course yellow conditions. So that could be seen as or frowned upon by the race officials, in which case he might be in trouble. In recent years, 6 different winners from the last 8 races around here as well. So, and pole positions have been spread as well. Pole positions last year go to Kelvin van der Linde in the Audi for Abt, and Maro Engel in the Mercedes for Winwood. The year before that, Bortolotti in the SSR Performance Lamborghini took a pole. Ricardo Feller, you've just seen struggling with his Audi, in the Abt Audi as it was then, was on pole, and then Bortolotti and van der Linde in Lamborghini and BMW in the 2022 season. Last year, we had wins for Kelvin van der Linde in the wet, and Sheldon van der Linde, his brother, neither of them at the moment racing in the DTM. And Bortolotti and Powell got double victories for Lamborghinis last year, one for SSR Performance, Mirko Bortolotti, and the other famously from 14th on the grid as a guest driver for the Grasser Racing Team. Max Powell is 1 win in the championship, coming in wet conditions, and a superb drive here at the Nürburgring. So he's got high hopes of trying to repeat that, having picked up his team, Powell Motorsports' first podium in the championship a couple of rounds ago at Zandvoort. We're back in business though, on board with the driver that is the most on-form driver of late, with 3 podiums, including a win from the last 2 events. Thomas Preining, great camera angle that. You can see just how much steering input he puts into the Manthey Porsche as he tries to control 550 brake horsepower. And Brian Thomas is the driver, or one of the drivers, that was flying towards the end of the session. He put his 3 quickest laps of the session in at the end of free practice 1.
He's really found some form here in the DTM. Not that he's ever lost it, but he had a bit of a dip mid-season, Thomas Preining, with a couple of non-finishes. Had it not been for that, he would surely be somewhere near, if not at the very top of the championship, as we see Timo Glock wrestling that McLaren out along the pit straight. But yes, Thomas Preining, he's been finishing consistently. Well, in every race he's finished in the top 6, and all bar 1, he's finished in the top 4. But he had those 2 non-finishes. One at Lausitzring and one at Zandvoort, but certainly he is very dialed in, and that is the aforementioned Timo Glock, really struggling once again with the handling of that car. But no doubt he will get on top of that. But Thomas Preining, who we mentioned this in our free practice show this morning, who feels as though he was robbed, he and Ayhan Gun, at the Nürburgring 24-hour race in the Grello car, and certainly wants to put that right this weekend and get a top step finish. And it would be a brave man who bets against him.
What you're talking there, I was just looking out the commentary box window, and a load of maybe 5 Land Motorsport mechanics with full helmets on in this heat went running all the way down the pit lane towards the pit lane entry to try and find their car, to try and find the Audi of Ricardo Feller. They got to the end of the pit lane and the car wasn't there. They had a conversation with the marshals at the gate and said, well, where's that car gone? And it had been towed behind the garages of the paddock They've now just reappeared, and on the back of a tow rope, that Land Motorsport Audi has finally now appeared, and it's about to be towed back into the pit lane via the paddock. So that's lost a huge amount of time for them. Meanwhile, Jack Aitken on a very good lap here, but look who's just gone to the top of the times with an absolute best middle sector, Timo Glock. Now, it's not a mega time compared to what we had earlier. It's still the quickest in this session, though, 1:27.165. We should be looking, ideally, in this session at the low 1:26s when they really go for it on qualifying runs. But nonetheless, Timo top of the times for now. And we've got Thierry Vermeulen, who's done the absolute best first sector and a personal best in the second sector on a good lap. Ferrari being pushed to its limits here by the young Dutch driver, who is surely going to get a win sooner or later. He's had 2 poles in the last year now, and they've not quite turned into race wins for him, but they have turned into podiums. But Thierry, our driver, gets better and better with each season. He goes second in the Emile Ferrari, and only 36 thousandths of a second slower than Glock.
So all the Ferraris are looking good. We saw Jack Aitken recording a purple just now. Thierry Vermeulen is second. Ben Green is in 8th as well. So the Ferraris are getting a good setup. So yeah, all looking very dialed in here at the Nürburgring, and Nicola Bart was briefly quickest in Sector 2. Well, Timo Glock, it may have been, it was a new car to him in that first session. They've clearly done something to the car in the break, because now suddenly Glock looking dialed in, the quickest of anybody in Sector 2. So a purple in Sector 2 for Timo Glock. So he's going to come out and cross the line. It was a 1:27.165 last time. It's now down to a 1:27.094. So he's taken a bit more time out of that. So suddenly finding a bit of speed in that McLaren. The other car, the one that he was driving last year, is also doing pretty good. Ben Deur up in 5th place at the moment. We've still got a little over 28 minutes of this session remaining, so plenty more to come. We haven't got near to this morning's times yet, but maybe towards the end of this session, when the fresh rubber comes on, then maybe we're going to get a better idea of the form book for quali tomorrow.
Yeah, it looks like they're doing sort of longer runs at the moment. Glock is 4/10 quicker than he went in the session this morning, though. So McLaren 1-2 as it stands. Ben Deur just 30 thousandths of a second behind him. I chat with Ben, and he was very pleased. He said, well done, that was a great effort. Second place in free practice 2. And he smiled and he said, yeah, not too bad, eh? So he's in a good place. He said they're pretty competitive at Norris Ring in terms of the pace of the car, but just made 2 mistakes, including a penalty in the pit stops, and got in a bit of trouble in the race. He said, but it's all going in the right direction. So he was looking very chilled out in between the 2 sessions. And just go back to Timo Glock, there's a point at which he was trying to cross from the garage to the truck, which means going across a piece of tarmac at the back of the garage that's only probably 4 meters wide, but he couldn't get there because he's such a popular figure still. You still got all these fans that stop him. You get forward about 2 inches and sort of, can I have a photo, Timo? Yeah, no problem. Get another inch forward. Can I have a photo, Timo? Yeah, no problem. It must have taken him about 4 minutes to get across this 4 meter bit of tarmac. So hopefully a very popular figure, a 3-time podium finisher in Formula 1. Hopefully things can go much better for him in the second half of the season.
Sometimes we need to talk to these drivers to find out information, and is there any wonder that it's like playing hide and seek around the paddock? We have to find out where they're hiding, as Jules Gounod's on Team Radio.
So we are P9, fastest is 27.1 by Glock, our fastest Merc 27.4, 1/10.
So yes, the drivers, some of these drivers do have to run and hide. It's great though, because what other sport can you get up close and personal with the drivers? The fans love getting their selfies, and the drivers are great. They often make themselves available for autographs, selfies and all the rest of it. And then we have the big autograph sessions on the Saturday and Sunday afternoons as well. This is such an accessible sport, and this is why we love DTM. It's not just great racing and a great spectacle, but you can actually get up close with your heroes, and you can have your photo taken with them, you can talk to them. Really good stuff.
Yeah, they're very obliging as well. Mirko Bortolotti, always a hugely popular figure, and he was just stood by the team truck. I was having a chat with him, and whilst I was having a chat with him in that 5 or 6 minutes, loads of people coming up and asking for photos, and it wasn't a problem for him. He absolutely didn't mind. Meanwhile, Timo Glock, he's done 3 quick laps now. He's gone into the pits, but as Nicky Tim does a bucking bronco impression in his Lamborghini, Timo Glock, first driver to break the 127 barrier, so 126.928. He'd actually set the absolute best first sector before he headed for the pits. Nicky Tim lost a bit of time with that slightly scrappy run. He had a good start to the lap with a personal best, but he's second overall now from his previous lap, 127.067. Bender has done a 127.1 and his third quickest, and then the Ferrari of Thierry Vermeulen, 127.2 fourth. Lucas Auer in the Mercedes, 127.4 in fifth. Jack Aitken into the pits now in the Ferrari, a 127.4 as well, to be running inside the top 6, with Guan and Prying in the Porsches 7th and 8th. Gunan, as we've seen in the pits, in 9th, and Ben Green in the other Ferrari running in 10th place. Right, Arjen Guan, 2-time race winner in the DTM this season. He had a difficult weekend though at the Nürburgring last time out, so let's see if he can fire things up again now. Hugely popular figure is Jan, and hugely well supported back home in Turkey as well. His background is one which, you know, it's difficult for a driver to come from a country where it's not got huge amounts of motorsport opportunities and race circuits and teams, and he's had to really fight for it. His dad has been there with him every step of the way. He's made it to the top. He has raced in Porsche Carrera Cup Championships. He's made it to the DTM, and it's great to see him get that maiden win earlier in the season at Oschersleben and follow it up with another win as well. So having his best season so far, and finally, Brian, we're getting to see the talent that Arjen has had, because it hasn't worked for him. He's had some bad luck the first couple of seasons in the DTM, but now finally we're seeing what he can do.
We certainly know he's talented. There is no doubt about that, and he's, as you say, he's finally started to show that this year. That was a wide line around turns 2 and 3 that he took as well. And on that subject, well, it was only a matter of time, wasn't it? We've had 3 track limit warnings for turn 10. Timo Glock, Rene Rast and Nicky Tim have all had warnings for track limits on turn 10. That's nothing compared to the GT4 session we had earlier on. We needed a widescreen telly on its side to get them all on the message board, the number of track limits infringement. So just the 3 so far, but this is the session to get them done and dusted, because if you've mentioned already, Chris, in quali, if you exceed track limits, you lose the lap, and potentially the next lap as well, because you at the end of the lap, if you exceed track limits, you're perceived to get an advantage starting the following lap. So it could be catastrophic. So this is the time to explore the limits. 3 drivers have done it so far. Let that be enough, please.
Yeah, Nicky, quickest driver on track last time around, and still second overall, but his best lap so far last time with the 127.061. The other improvement up to 5th. That was Arjen Miney. Now, as I said, I caught up with Arjen and said, well done. I wasn't at the Nürburgring, so I said, well done, 5th place. Great. I didn't expect that. And he said, no, nor did we. We didn't think the car would really suit the Nürburgring, because it's the longest wheelbase car, and it's a tight street circuit with, you know, some tight section, tight hairpin, tight chicane section. He said, but it was really good. We were really pleased with the way things are going. So he's in a good place. It's funny how the summer part of the season and the summer break is different for different drivers, isn't it? Because we had a bit of a break in terms of DTM track action. But, of course, a lot of these drivers racing other championships. So Arjen was chilled out. He'd had a couple of weeks back home in India and caught up with the family and was looking rejuvenated. But the driver you're looking at there, Lucas Auer, said, did you get a chance for a break? He laughed. No, no chance. He said, racing GT World Challenge, doing this. He said, no break for me. He said, but it's all good. It's all good.
Well, Arjen did come here to the Nürburgring on the 2nd week of July, not to race, but to watch as part of Haupt Racing. And we mentioned it this morning, mention it again. The Ford Mustangs, the HRT Mustangs in the GT Masters, identical cars in another series at the ADAC run. And they locked out the front row in both of the races on the weekend. And it was Salman Vega and Finn Wiebelhaus who went on to win in the 2nd race. They too in the HRT Ford Mustang. It was a 125.294. That was the pole position lap in the GT Masters. So it'll be interesting to see whether Arjen Miney and Fabio Scherer can get close to that in qualifying tomorrow and on Sunday. But certainly unlocking the pace in the Mustang as the season goes on. And they certainly at HRT, they feel as though they have started to find something. Ulrich Fritz was very encouraged by the progress. He says, we found something with the chassis. It's not a qualifying car. The car heats its tyres really quickly. That's an opposite problem to many of the other cars. They heat the tyres really quickly, and so they dispensed with the heat soak when they're at the Lausitz-Ring, where the cars do a lap in quali, then come in and wait for the heat soak. They just went out there and did the laps. So a whole different dynamic in the Mustang, and of course they've dumped the aircon unit as well to shed a bit of weight, so 15 kilos lighter, and put more of a manual cooling system in for the drivers. But certainly they're finding their way big time with that car, and it's really exciting to see the Mustang starting to mix it with the remainders, the other cars in the field.
Yeah, Arjun backed that up actually when I spoke to him a couple of hours ago. He said, yeah, it was qualifying, they did it for us because we were just able to get on it as soon as we went out, left it late, went out, got the times in, and then when you're higher up the grid, life, especially around the Nürburgring, becomes much, much easier. He also said, I can't believe that's become a story about the air conditioning. So I just mentioned it in one interview, and it's become a story now.
Never mention anything in an interview because we'll just repeat it.
Said, yeah, so I didn't realise it was going to be such a big thing.
Yeah.
But they have got a way of trying to keep cool still. It's a big, heavy car, and try and get it as close as you can to the confines. A slight tweak in the regs. As you look at Maro Engel now building up speed on his Pirellis, and we'll see what he can do. He hasn't really pulled the trigger as yet in this session, but I think this last 20 minutes, this, Brian, is where we're now going to get some dummy qualifying runs as they try to set up for tomorrow morning's all-important, well, 20-minute qualifying session. But we know, as you said, they'll go out, do a couple of laps, let the heat soak into the tyres from the brakes, and probably, realistically, it'll be a 7 or 8 minute long session.
Yes, and if they've got any rubber left for free practice, any new rubber, now is going to be the time to get it bolted on and get that simulation done for quali. A lot of the teams have now done their long runs for the weekend, both in free practice 1 this morning and the first part of this session. So with about 10 minutes left, I expect to see the times coming down. We've only got one car in the 26ers so far, and that is Timo Glock. And he will be very pleased about that. 1:26.928, still a little way off Jack Aitken's time from FP1 this morning. So still plenty more to come. Of course, the track is a living, breathing object. It changes throughout the day with the sun coming in, going out, with rubber from all the different other different classes that are on the circuit as well. It started to cloud over a bit, so I expect the temperature. What is the track temperature? It's 27.2, so
it's hotter than it was at the start.
Ideal, really.
Yeah,
I think,
it's gone up 1.5 degrees since the start of this session, so it shows you exactly what you said, how it changes. It's fairly quiet on track at the moment. We've got more than half of the cars in the pit lane. I'm sure will change pretty shortly. Tom Callender has improved up to 7th, going all right, the teenager, 1:27.437, just at his best lap of the session so far. You're looking at Nicola Bartz, who's going to celebrate his 24th birthday tomorrow, hopefully from his point of view, with a good race day in the Come To You Aston Martin. Jordan Pepper has just come back into the pits. He hasn't really done a great deal in this session so far. Most of them have done between 12 and 15 laps. He's only done 5, and he's, I think, only completed actually 1 or 2 laps. He's done lots of sort of recce laps and come back into the pit. So we're still to see, I think, Jordan Pepper show what he can really do in this session. The driver 3rd in the championship, and of course now, along with Luca Exler and Mirko Bortolotti, a Spa 24-hour race winner after their great victory around the wonderful Belgian circuit, which isn't too far away from where we are now, just across the border in Belgium. Great camera angles once again from our team here with the television coverage. That's going to be a great shot at the start on the lap 1, isn't it? When you see all the cars going 4 abreast into a corner. Yeah. Hopefully it's going to survive the first lap.
I was going to say, if that's still there on lap 2, they'll consider that a bit of a win, I should think.
Yeah, breathe in. So on board with Nicola Bart, pushing on his first season in the championship. Like Luca Exler, we saw earlier, coming from a TCR touring car racing background. Lots of good drivers came out of the TCR Europe Championship and started racing in this category. He hasn't perhaps got as much GT experience as others around him, but a few years worth now. GT debut is 2022 in the GT World Challenge, which he's raced in then all the way until last season. And that was last season in an Aston with the Come To You Racing squad as the son of the team boss and team manager, and at the moment he's building up the speed in that Aston Martin with its big V8 engine. That's a 4-litre V8 turbo engine, so turbo on that, turbo on the BMWs, turbo on the Ferraris, and all the other cars are normally aspirated. And even at those speeds, you get a sense of how quick it can be around here. 250 kilometres an hour top speed. These cars can do around about 265 kilometres an hour when you get a long enough straight, which equates to about 160 miles an hour. 11 turns around the circuit. You get the tight confines, twisty confines of the right, double left, then right through turns 1, 2, 3 and 4. That's the AMG Arena section with the big grandstand there to the right of your picture, which gives a great vantage point for the spectators. So that sequence of corners all taken in second or third gear. Then you go down out of turn 4, down to turn 5, the hairpin, which is just gone. That's where they pull off the full Grand Prix circuit, use this sprint version of the circuit. And then out of the left-hander at turn 6, when he's up to speed, he'll hit the apex and the braking zone of turn 7 at about 125 kilometres an hour, having braked down from 160. Then it really opens up at the back of the circuit. It's the end of the sector 1 takes you from the start line to the exit to turn 5. Sector 2 is the quick section. It's the shortest section in terms of time because it takes in turn 7 where you accelerate and then don't touch the brakes again for ages because you're flat out through Volkenbogen, the right-hander at turn 8 at 230 kilometres an hour. Go up the hill. It's quite a steady climb uphill to the end of sector 2, which is where you then hit the brakes from 250 kilometres an hour for the second time in the lap. You go down not quite as slow as you do into turn 1, but you still have to stand on the brakes, use the hill and slow it down for the Vidal chicane where you go left then right, around about 85 kilometres an hour and second gear through turns 9 and 10, which is where track limits you have to watch coming out of that corner. And in the last 2 corners, turns 10 and 11, building up the speed, top speed through that last couple of corners. In the link in between them is about 175 kilometres an hour, but already you're at 105 kilometres an hour coming out of the last corner and a long start-finish straight then to complete the lap. So that's a lap around this 3.6 kilometre long Nürburgring sprint circuit. The Nordschleife adjacent to us, of course, connected to this circuit when they use it for the 24-hour race. That almost 22 kilometres long and former itself Grand Prix venue named the Green Owl by multiple world Formula 1 champion Sir Jackie Stewart, because of its intense nature and how dangerous it was back in the day as well when he was racing in the 70s in particular. But it is just a wonderful arena, this, and Lucas Hour is now on the attack. So that's what it looks like to attack the curbs through the chicane that I was mentioning, the Vidal chicane. Then you go through into this double right, turn 10, then turn 11, past the Dorint Hotel there to the left, accelerating out. He's done the absolute best middle sector. Is he going to go quicker than the McLaren? Yes is the answer. Top of the times then for the championship leader, 126.782.
Right, well, 12 and 3/4 minutes to go. This is where we expect the times to start coming down a bit. It's the last opportunity before quali tomorrow morning to get that set up for the qualifying session. So at the moment, we've just got a handful of cars out on track, but as you can see from your graphic, there are 5 cars on their out lap at the moment, so building the heat in the tyres. This is the opportunity to really explore it. Look how wide out of the corner Lucas Hour is going. That was out at turn 3 and turn 4. Now he's down to that turn 5, but certainly exploring the outer reaches of the circuit and continuing to improve and extend. So the 126.782, that is the benchmark time at the moment. But now we're starting to see the pit lane come alive. Lots of cars moving in the pit lane. And I think in a few moments we're going to have pretty well every car out on track. Less than 12 minutes remaining. Here comes Lucas Hour. Personal best in Sector 1. Not so in Sector 2, though.
Yeah, but he wasn't far off. Only a few thousandths off the absolute best Sector 2 time. So if he nails the last couple of corners, it could be another very good lap within the context of this free practice session. Looking at around about a 126.78 again, depending on how good this run to the line is. It's even better, 126.657. So he did shave some off. Overall, another 10th quicker and extends his advantage to 0.27 seconds as we get team radio.
Looking for Sector 1, coming from turn 1 up until turn 7. It's looking really good. You're actually gaining time. So one more time, I will sum up in turn 1.
all sounding positive then for Morris going there in the orange, green, the orange and black Manthey Junior team, and the green of Anjan Gu and the yellow, green-yellow of Thomas Priding. Separate team by name, but name only. Morris saying we still share all the data. We're a team. Name is different, but we all work together. We all share data, and we all try to help each other along. So those two of the Porsches together on track at the moment, and positive feedback from Morris's race engineer as he tries to build up the speed. Nobody's absolutely flying at the moment. Fabio Scherer has done a personal best in the middle sector, but in the Mustang he's 20th overall at the moment. We're into the last 10 minutes or so of the session, and still Lucas Auer, who got his maiden pole position at this circuit 10 years ago now, would you believe, in his first season of DTM. He's only had one win here though, that was back in 2017. He's the one that set the benchmark time, but we're still about 0.6 of a second slower than we were in this equivalent session last year.
Interestingly, the track temperature has dropped by 0.2 degrees centigrade in the last 10 minutes or so. Lucas Auer, another one on the infamous turn 10, just getting the back end out, picking up a bit of dirt as well. Look at the weaving, getting the tyres warmed up and into the window. But yeah, the track temperature has dropped by about 0.2 of a degree centigrade. You might think that's much, but it does make an awful lot of difference. The cloud cover having moved in, but you can see drivers just generating the heat in the tyres. The two Manthey cars are running together. Remember, this is their local race. We're looking down. Welcome back to the drone. What great shots we get from our drone. We love looking at the Nürburgring from up above.
Yeah, looking fantastic. This shows this tight confines. You've got those two, and Anjan Gu's not that far up the road from them either, so all fairly close together. The three Porsches on board with the Mustang of the Swiss driver Fabio Scherer, who's really enjoying DTM, because last season he did DTM was the COVID season, so he said, no, I'm really enjoying that, the full experience now with the fans here, and he's really enjoying trying to develop this car. So some bad luck this year, but the potential is there. They're very grounded though. They know it's a learning year for them, so he's pushing on under braking as he tries to get the car slowed down from 250 kilometres an hour, as his teammate goes second quickest with a 126.676. Arjun Maini with the absolute best middle sector and only 19 thousandths of a second slower than the championship leader Lucas Auer.
Yeah, good purple in sector 2 for Arjun Maini. So now here's Gun on as well, and he is improving in the yellow Mamba. We ride on board with him. Great shots here past the penalty box. He'll hope not to be going through there during the race. And there's Maro Engel flashing the lights to whoever's ahead of him, the number 24 car. I'm just trying to look to see who's ahead of him. Oh, not many. It's Morris Sherrin, but he's quite a long way ahead of him. Out onto the pit straights, Maro Engel. So is this going to be an improvement? I think it's going to be. He was in 16th place. So he crosses the line. Maini, quickest of anybody in sector 1, as Maro Engel doesn't improve on that lap. But Arjun Maini, inspired by the GT Masters from a couple of weeks ago here at the Nürburgring, trying to emulate them, and he is purple in sector 1 in that Mustang.
Yeah, just under a 10th down, quicker than the absolute best so far. Hours in the pits as well. He's pushing on, and the Mercedes and Maro Engel backed off at the end of that lap, left himself a gap, then pulled the pin coming out of the last corner. So Engel's going for it on this next lap potentially. Gun on 2 personal bests is on a good lap as well, but Arjun Maini goes through still second, 126.766. So that was just about a 10th slower in the end than his absolute best, but it's 2 very good laps. What about Gun on then? He's surely going to move up the order. 13th place at the moment, sends it nice and wide coming out of the final turn as he commits to the throttle, goes over the line, goes third quickest with a 126.796. So good effort there. You can see the breeze that's coming in from the blower that's on full tilt, because his right leg, the race suit there, flapping. He's got a lot of air coming in, and not surprising because it's 26, 27 degrees outside. Inside the cars, it's going to be close to 60 degrees the temperature as we watch Maro Engel, who is going for it now on this lap. 2 personal bests. Luca Axler with the personal best in the first sector as well is worth keeping an eye on. What about Maro Engel then? Where is he going to end up at the end of this? Over the line into the top 5 then for the German with a 127.028.
And the track temperature has dropped another 0.2 degrees centigrade in the last couple of minutes. So actually the temperature is dropping quite quickly of the track. Now, I don't know whether that's going to speed them up or slow them down, but it will have some effect as we ride on board with Luca Engsler out along the pit straight once again to cross the line. So he'll be looking to improve. So it's a P8 127.129. Arjun Maini. I don't know whether it's an old wives' tale or not about the sandbagging, but every team, every driver will have in their mind that there have been BOP changes from the Friday to the Saturday overnight in the past, and I don't know whether there is an element of keeping your cards close to your chest or not. You certainly don't want to be seen to be too quick too soon, I guess, but drivers may have that in mind. But Jules Gounon, well, his personal best in Sector 1, not so in Sector 2, but he continues. Cross the line, P3, 126.796, that's 0.139 off the fastest.
And Jordan Pepper's on a good lap here, about to watch him go through the last couple of corners. Gilles Magnus is just on the absolute best middle sector. But Ben Dur improving up to 4th, Max Powell improving up to 5th. Magnus with a good middle and end to the lap goes into the top 10, and Jordan Pepper is up into 6th place. Thomas Priding and Maurice Skuring coming through next past the commentary box windows. They go, and Thomas Priding goes 3rd quickest. This feels like a precursor to qualifying, doesn't it? Lucas Sauer is missing all the fun in the pit lane, but he's still top of the times with a 126.657, 19 thousandths of a second quicker than Arjun Maini. Priding is within 58 thousandths of a second of the fastest time, but he's 3rd. Maro Engel is just over a 10th behind in 4th, then Gounon in 5th, Dur in 6th, Powell 7th, Pepper at 8th now, with Glock 9th, and Tim in 10th place. And Luca Engsler, Spa 24-hour race winner, multiple TCR champion and 2-time DTM race winner, improves as well. And this could be another good lap. No, it won't be for Ben Dur because he backs off, but the first 2 sectors were mint, weren't they? Personal best. Here's Max Powell, he improved last time around, but Jordan Pepper in the other one of the other Lamborghinis, the Grassa car, the TGI back car, absolute best first sector for the South African, 44.10. He's 9th, he's only 0.2 of a second away from the fastest time of the session. So Pepper, one to watch here at midway around the lap at the moment, and he's just come out of through sector 2 as well. And now into the last couple of corners. There he is, the gold Lamborghini, just coming through into the final turn. He lost a fraction of time through the middle sector. We've got Priding on personal bests, Nicky Tim on 2 personal bests as well. Where's Pepper going to end up? Surely higher than 9th yet, but only 6th place. What about Priding in the background? Looking good. The Porsche about to come over the line. Now it goes to the top of the times with the absolute best final sector. So 126.517 for the driver, 2nd in the standings. We're not done yet though, Brian. Marco Wittmann now goes absolute best in the middle sector. Here he is.
So Marco Wittmann out of the final corner, out onto the pit straight. It'll be absolute foot to the floor all the way to the line. So this is going to be improvement up to P3 for Marco Wittmann in the Schubert Motorsport BMW. We've got every car bar 2 out on track. Just Lucas Sauer and Arjun Maini, who's just peeled into the pits. Everybody else out on track with 3 minutes remaining of this session. Ben Dur briefly quickest in sector 1, but Gilles Magnus has stolen that away. So Gilles Magnus, the quickest of anybody in sector 1, but this is going to be a great lap for Ben Dur. Currently in 11th place. Surely this is going to be an improvement. If he keeps it together, out onto the pit straight, he will come to break the timing beam, and he goes quickest. So Ben Dur in the car that everybody seemed to hate, but not Ben Dur. He wants that car because it's the quickest of anybody.
But for how long? Because Gilles Magnus, absolute best in the 2nd sector as well. The Belgian driver, the Belgian team about to come through the final turn of this lap. We've got still 2.25 minutes to go. This could be the absolute best time of the session, but it fails. It trails away at the end of the lap. But it was absolutely mint before that, wasn't he? With absolute best in sectors 1 and 2, but he lost about 7 tenths.
We just missed 2 tenths on sector 3. 2 tenths on sector 3.
So Maro Engel being told sector 3, which is the run through the chicane, and the final 2 right-handers at turn 10 and 11. That's where you're missing 0.3 of a second. 3 of the 4 tenths that he misses overall to Ben Dur. So he's 4 tenths behind, but I reckon most of it is right at the end of the lap. So Ben Dur quickest by 1/4 of a second from Thomas Priding. Marco Wittmann in 3rd. And then we've got Luca Engsler going into 4th place now with a 126.611. It's 0.5 tenth up on Lucas Sauer, who's still in the pits in 5th place. Rennie Rast has come through to 6th place. Ben Dur is flying over the curbs, giving it absolute full beans. And his teammate, Timo Glock, has just just set the absolute best first sector. So the car swap is working for both drivers. In last year's model, Ben Durr is flying. In the new model, Timo Glock is having a really good session as well, albeit he's down in 18th place, but he was near the top of the times, at the top of the times in the first half of the session, and he might be near the top of the times by the end of the lap as well. He too properly attacks the curbs in the bi-turbo powered McLaren with over 700 brake horsepower, and he's done an absolute best first sector, his personal best through the second sector as well. So he ain't going to be 19th at the end of this lap. He's going to be much, much higher, but how high can he get to the very, very top of the times? 1 minute 26.249.
Amazing.
Welcome back, Timo. That's brilliant. McLaren 1-2 with less than a minute to go in the session now.
Cancel the order for the new McLaren. Everybody's happy. Don't change anything. It's McLaren 1-2, but look who's in 3 and 4. Manthey EMA, Ayche Good and Thomas Priding. So McLaren, Porsche with Marco Wittmann in 5th place now. This is all setting up very nicely for tomorrow, as now Jack Aitken responds with 20 seconds on the clock. He's the quickest of anybody in Sector 1, a personal best in Sector 2 as well. So it's Jack Aitken going to try and make it 2 out of 2 in the free practice sessions. He's just got the final corner to negotiate. Keep it nice and tidy. The Ferrari, as he backed out of it, I think he may have out along, no, maybe not, out onto the pits, straight he comes. It looked like he was slowing in that final corner. I think he might have been. So P5 for Jack Aitken, but maybe giving us a little glimpse of what we might see tomorrow.
Getting a decent lap from Ben Green as well. He's about 2.5 tenths down overall of the first 2 sectors, but it's easily going to be his best lap of the session. There's the British driver in the 3rd of the Emil Frey Racing Ferraris. Next one over the line was 18th. Actually, it goes up to 16th because he too loses time in the 3rd and final sector, but he was piecing together a pretty nice lap up until that point. So yeah, for Jack Aitken, absolute best first sector, personal best second sector, and then about 0.6 of a second down in the final sector. Guan goes into 5th place. Thierry Vermeulen was improving when he went through as well, up into the top 3 as the checkered flag comes out, and what has been a pretty lightning last 10 or 15 minutes of the session. Not done yet either. Got Mirko Bortolotti on an absolute best first sector. Maro Engel comes through, only 15th in the session, but only 0.4 of a second away from the top of the times. Mirko Bortolotti said, we looked at the data after free practice 1, we're still 4 kilometres an hour down on the straights compared to the Grasser Lamborghinis, but they got over a decade's experience working with the Lamborghini. We didn't know it as well, and it's not about the engine, he said, it's all about the exit speed, but we'll keep working, we'll keep fighting, but only 21st place for Mirko Bortolotti. But it's such tiny, tiny margins in this championship, because you've got 0.7 of a second between Mirko in 21st and Timo Glock at the top of the times. 0.8 of a second between the top 22, and just over a second between all 24 cars in free practice 2. But I tell you what a great day it has been so far. If they could just take this through to Saturday and Sunday, it could be a mega weekend for Durr Motorsport, because their drivers finished Friday as the fastest 2, with Timo Glock and Ben Durr at top of the times, and only separated by 44 thousandths of a second. Something finally for Timo Glock to smile about. It is working nicely. It's the fastest lap of the day, that as well, with a 1:26.209. He finishes top. Ben Durr in second. Thierry Vermeulen continuing his excellent form at the moment. 3rd place, just behind him, sneaking up there. Remember, he was in trouble at the start of the session, but 4th place late on in the Land Motorsport Audi for Ricardo Feller, which is a great effort by the team and by him. And then Ayche Good was 5th, Jack Aitken was 6th, Thomas Priding 7th, Marco Wittmann, Luca Engstler and Gilles Magnus in the top 10 as well. Lucas Sauer sat out the last 10 minutes of that session when the track was really flying, but 11th place. I think there's more to come from Lucas. Jordan Pepper 12th, Rennie Rast 13th, Arjun Miney in 14th, Maro Engel 15th, Jules Gunon was 16th, Ben Green 17th, Nicky Tim, Maurice Skuring and Max Powell rounded out the top 20 ahead of Bortolotti, Bart, Callender and Scherer, but nothing in between them in that session. Vermeulen, though, a pole sitter at the Nürburgring in our most recent weekend of DTM, a podium finisher, 3rd at the end of that session to set his weekend up nicely. Ben Durr, 2nd in both of the sessions today, free practice 1 and free practice 2. But who beats him? Only the other McLaren driver, Timo Glock. 5th in the championship a few years ago. He's still under investigation from the start of the session when he may or may not have got a bit too quickly under the full course yellows, but that takes nothing away from what was a really positive lap from the German. 1 minute 26.209 seconds, which cues us up very nicely for tomorrow morning's qualifying session. Tomorrow, qualifying for 20 minutes gets underway at 9:35 to set the grid for the first race of the weekend. That will get underway at 1:30. Of course, we'll talk you through all of the action. Brian Oliver, myself, Chris Hartley and Verena Vriek will be in the pit lane for us for the race weekend as well. It is set up beautifully. It should be another hot day tomorrow, and the qualifying session is going to be absolutely electric if that's anything to go by. So from Brian Oliver and me, Chris Hartley, thanks for your company today. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll speak to you again tomorrow for race day.